Good evening, Mr. Bond fans. Diamonds are forever, but these original review reaction videos aren't, because this is the last of the classic Calvin videos for us to rewatch. Well, there are the first 3 Daniel Craig film reviews for us to look at, but by the time that I was making those, I had moved. I was no longer recording the videos in the basement of my student house. I had purchased a decent camera as well by that point, so this is going to be the last video that we watch where it looks like I was filming myself using a potato. It does feel appropriate though to be ending on another anniversary movie. I'm recording this while Diamonds Are Forever is in its 55th anniversary year, and this is obviously very few people's favorite Bond film. I would go so far as to say this is a film that is in very few Bond fans' top 20 rankings, like if you were going to rank all 25 of these films. And yet, I've had a pretty on-again, off-again relationship with Diamonds Are Forever over the years, thanks in no small part down to the fact that this was only the second Bond film I ever saw. It was the first Bond film where I saw Sean Connery as James Bond, and I think it certainly left an impression on me. I do have a lot of nostalgia for this film, but I do also have to be very much in the right kind of mood for it. Diamonds Are Forever works as a comedy far better than it does a spy thriller, I would argue, and you know what? If I'm in the right mood, I can roll with that. What mood younger me will have been in when he made this video, I do not remember. I have a feeling that this is going to be a review that skews a bit more positive, but I'm not sure. There will undoubtedly be a lot of Charles Gray love throughout, though, and copious usage of the Time Warp from Rocky Horror Picture Show, I'm sure. Okay, let's do it then. Let's revisit that student house basement in Leeds one last time. Here's the Diamonds Are Forever review.
Hello once again, and welcome to my weekly Bond. This week, Diamonds Are Forever.
So if after the dramatic and powerful ending of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, you're expecting Diamonds Are Forever to be a harsh, gritty revenge tale of Bond seeking retribution from Blofeld and Irma Bunt for the death of his wife, be prepared to be very, very, very disappointed. However, if you're a fan of Connery's portrayal of Bond, also prepare to be disappointed. Anyway, yeah, so Connery's back. Turns out the man can be bought, and the film begins with Bond going around the world beating up people to try and find the whereabouts of Blofeld.
Is there something I can do for you?
Got off a bit on a negative front from the start. I've surprised myself.
There's something I'd like you to get off your chest.
Okay, there is a definite nipple there if you freeze frame.
I'll actually have to blur that, because you do actually see side boob. But when this video was originally up on YouTube, in fact, you see more than side boob, sorry, you see the whole nipple in a few frames, but when this video was originally up on YouTube, that was uncensored. Wow. Okay. Times have changed.
Bond eventually finds Blofeld, who in this film is portrayed by Charles Gray.
Hey! Of course. Any excuse.
With your hands on your hips.
Oh, we're going for the full clip.
Lower, not up.
Sure. Why not? Oh, we're really going in on this whole thing. Wow.
With your hands on your hips.
Any more Diamonds quotes to throw in here, or we're just doing Rocky Horror?
Turns out Blofeld is creating duplicates of himself with plastic surgery. Bond kills Blofeld by throwing him into a pool of very, very hot mud. Blofeld's dead already? Well, I'm sure that was the real Blofeld, and definitely not some kind of duplicate.
Bond reacts very well to seeing Blofeld alive to say he was responsible for his wife's death in the previous film. Oh, there's no sign of Irma Bunt around either. Wow, the woman really did get away with murder.
After the credits, we see M assign Bond the mission of uncovering a diamond smuggling ring by going undercover as a man named Peter Franks, who MI6 have recently detained. Meanwhile, we meet our henchmen for this film, a pair of gay assassins called Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd.
I'm surprised I didn't call them Mr. Top and Mr. Bottom, this being a Bond film and all.
We see Wint and Kidd travelling around, killing several of the diamond smugglers involved in the ring, including this old woman who I swear is the Julie Andrews of diamond smugglers.
Where to this time?
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam! Oh, how lovely. I shall have to bring back some pictures of the canals for the children.
After a lovely scene with Moneypenny, my personal favourite scene in the film, by the way, Bond, posing as Peter Franks, travels to Amsterdam to meet Frank's contact in the form of this film's Bond girl, Tiffany Case. However, the real Peter Franks shows up, who Bond kills and switches IDs with.
Nice bit of product placement for Playboy. Again.
My God. You just killed James Bond.
Bond and Case hide the diamonds inside Franks' corpse in order to smuggle them out of the country.
I don't even want to think about where they put those diamonds.
Bond meets Felix Leiter at the airport, here played by Norman Burton, who is quite possibly the most boring Felix Leiter of them all. Anyway, Franks' body is taken to a nearby crematorium so that the diamonds can be passed on to the next smuggler. However, the diamonds planted in the corpse are fake, and it's this that saves Bond from being assassinated by Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd. Bond then checks into a Las Vegas hotel, the White House, owned by reclusive billionaire Willard White. Bond spends the night gambling when he meets this lovely lady.
Hi, I'm Plenty.
But of course you are.
Plenty O'Toole.
Well, that name has certainly earned a suggestive eyebrow raise.
Of course,
Can I
Plenty
still do
ends
that?
up back in Bond's room. However, 3 of the crematorium smugglers are there waiting and promptly eject Plenty from the room.
Hey, listen, you can't do this to me. Stop that. I've got friends in this town.
Exceptionally fine shot.
I didn't know there was a pool down there.
The gangsters leave Bond's room, where he discovers Tiffany Case waiting for him in bed. Tiffany tries to get Bond to reveal the location of the real diamonds by offering to help him steal the diamonds for themselves. Bond pretends to give in and arranges for her to retrieve the diamonds at the Circus Casino, where she does, in the form of a stuffed animal.
There we are. All right. That's the way to do it. Oh, look at that. And we have another winner. Annie Oakley on the end, huh? Here we are. What an eye. What an eye.
Wait a second, hold it. I saw the whole thing. The machine's fixed. Who's she, your mother? Blow up your pants. One win. She only had one win.
Keeps
You're
on going.
supposed to have 24 to win that dog.
Will you give it a rest, kid, huh? All right, boys and girls, here we go. Everybody, come.
Good God, that guy's creepy. He's creepier than Kronsteen in From Russia with Love.
Check.
Bond and Felix keep Case under surveillance, but she manages to escape the casino and pass the diamonds on to the next smuggler.
Just including the clip of the elephant. Okay, sure.
Okay, so the elephant gambling is really, really, really out of place in a Bond film. But stay tuned, things get sillier and sillier as the series progresses.
Tiffany returns to her villa, where she finds Bond waiting for her and the body of Plenty O'Toole, who was apparently mistaken for Tiffany and killed by Wint and Kidd, in her swimming pool. Plenty turning up dead in Tiffany's swimming pool is rather curious and confusing, as the two have never even seen each other on screen as far as we the audience know. However, scenes that were deleted from the film explain that Plenty had returned to Bond's room the night she was thrown out the window by the gangsters and seen Bond and Tiffany together. Jealous, she took a card from Tiffany's purse, discovering her address, and had gone to her villa to confront her, where she met Wint and Kidd, who were waiting for Tiffany but mistook Plenty for Tiffany, so killed Plenty instead of Tiffany. But none of this was shown, so I guess it's something of a plot hole. Bond interrogates Tiffany to find out where the diamonds are heading.
Now, who's your connection?
You sound like a cop to me.
Who's your connection?
That's our hero, beating the girl for information.
Tiffany then helps Bond sneak onto a van where the diamonds currently are, and is driven to a remote facility outside the city. Posing as a lab worker, Bond discovers that the research lab, owned by Willard White, is being used to construct a rather suspicious satellite. Bond's cover is blown, and he escapes the complex in a moon buggy.
And so, the award for most unconventional Bond vehicle of all time goes to... the Moon Buggy!
After a rather dull chase sequence, largely down to the unexciting score from John Barry, Bond meets Tiffany and the pair return to the White House Hotel. Bond then scales the hotel to get to the top floor to confront Willard White himself. However, it turns out it isn't Willard White up there at all.
It's Charles Gray. I have a feeling Time Warp's coming back.
Good evening, Mr. Bond.
Blofeld.
Good evening, 007.
Look out, Bond! Now there are 2 ship Blofelds!
So yeah, not surprisingly, it turns out that the Blofeld that was killed in the pre-credit sequence was actually a double. It turns out the real Blofeld has kidnapped Willard White and is posing as White using a voice-altering device in his telephone. Bond has a go at killing one of the Blofelds, hoping it's the real one, but kills another double. Bond is then knocked out and left to die inside a pipeline by Winton Kidd, but later escapes and uses Q's voice-altering device to call Blofeld to find out where Willard White is being held. While Bond and Felix are out rescuing White, Case remains at the hotel, and then this happens.
Symbols appear.
Don't tell me I'm gonna shit on Blofeld in drag.
Adjust the
A woman with a white cat? Oh god, please don't tell me.
Well, well, well. Look what the cat dragged in.
Oh, Christ. That's the brutal, sadistic megalomaniac who killed Bond's wife, people. The fella in the dress. So yeah, Tiffany is kidnapped by Blofeld while Bond and White raid the lab to uncover Blofeld's plot of using the diamonds to create a laser satellite, which he uses to destroy nuclear weapons in various places across the globe. Effectively holding the world to ransom. Again.
Blofeld gets away with a lot of actual destruction in this film, but it just doesn't feel as grand as his plans from Thunderball and You Only Live Twice.
It is discovered that Blofeld's base is an oil rig off the coast of...
Baja.
And Bond
Nice.
promptly arrives there.
Good morning, gentlemen. The Acme Pollution Inspection. We're cleaning up the world. We thought this was a suitable starting point.
There are a few amusing scenes and moments while we're on the oil rig.
Switch the tape in the machine.
You stupid twit, you put the real one back in.
Come on, let's go. We're showing a bit more cheek than usual, aren't we?
Before Felix and the CIA begin a helicopter attack on the rig. It's around this point that Tiffany stops being a tough, crass broad and turns into a bit of a damsel in distress, which is a shame, as up until this point she was quite an interesting character and a bit different from a load of other Bond girls.
Get the gun.
Here!
Shoot him!
Blofeld, sensing all is not going well, plans his escape.
Prepare my battle sub immediately.
I love how willing Blofeld is to flee. He has no interest in going down with his ship at all, he just wants to get the hell out of there. But then I guess that's what's kept him alive for so long.
However, Bond gets control of the crane lowering Blofeld's escape ship and crashes it into the control room, destroying the satellite control and ultimately the base, saving the world from destruction once again. If you would say that the ending of Diamonds Are Forever is anticlimactic at best, then you'd be dead right. It is such a letdown, especially considering Blofeld never gets a proper return again in the series, other than a brief cameo in For Your Eyes Only. It's really quite sad and pathetic that Bond's arch-nemesis gets such a lame send-off. Especially when you read up on what the filmmakers actually had planned for the ending of this film, with Blofeld actually escaping in his bathos sub and Bond giving chase on a weather balloon, eventually both ending up at a salt mine, where there would be a fierce battle to the death, with Blofeld eventually meeting his maker by falling into a salt granulator. Though these scenes were planned, they never made it into the film due to the owners of the salt mine refusing permission for the filmmakers. To those salt mine owners I say, fuck you all, you bunch of tits. The hell with you all for denying this film a perfect ending. Oh yeah, and in true Guy Hamilton Bond fashion, the film's henchmen Winton Kidd reappear in the final scenes, attempting to kill Bond, but are both ultimately dispatched. The film ends with Bond and Tiffany looking up to the stars, Tiffany wondering how the hell they're going to get those diamonds back down to Earth.
James, how the hell do we get those diamonds down again?
Diamonds are forever.
He's back.
Who are you?
My name is Bond. James Bond.
And so that's Diamonds Are Forever. I've already made it very clear that I think of the film as being something of a disappointment, but then I guess almost anything would feel like a disappointment after the near masterpiece that is On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Wow.
And to Diamonds Are Forever's credit, it is a Bond film that I really do enjoy, if not mostly for its sense of humour and the moments of comedy. Bringing back Connery is all well and good, especially when considering the producers very almost had American actor John Gavin, the actor most well known for his role in Hitchcock's Psycho, in the role of Bond, which would have been diabolical going by Gavin's wooden performance in Psycho, and Connery seems to be having fun again in the role of Bond, which is lovely considering how bored he looked in Thunderball and You Only Live Twice. I really like the supporting cast of this film, and Jill St. John's Tiffany Case ranks highly as far as Bond girls go for me. And while I did refer earlier to Charles Gray as being a shit Blofeld, I only think this when one compares him to Pleasance and Savalas. But as a standalone Bond villain, I do really like him.
Okay.
Though I think I'd love Charles Gray in almost any role. You could perceive Gray as being majorly miscast in this role, considering his small but memorable role as Henderson in You Only Live Twice, so it seems kinda weird to see him as Blofeld. Of course, recasting actors in different roles is nothing new to the Bond series. Heck, Shane Rimmer appears in small roles in 3 different films, but with an actor as impressionable as Gray, it just feels a bit awkward. Wind and Kidd make for a suitably creepy pair of henchmen, and Bruce Glover and Putter Smith play their parts well. While it may be very un-PC to have a pair of gay villains like this these days, I still think they're a very effective and quite memorable pair.
Diamonds was really attempting to emulate the success of Goldfinger, as is evident with Guy Hamilton returning to direct and Shirley Bassey returning to do the theme song. The original script even had Goldfinger's twin brother as the main villain. Thank God they didn't go down that route.
So, ultimately, I do really like Diamonds Are Forever. It's an easy watch, and I really like a lot of the humour in it. It's interesting to note that a lot of critics cite the Roger Moore films as bringing in a lot of the comedy, when really that all started with Diamonds Are Forever. It just feels like a disappointment when compared with its preceding film, and it's a really huge fucking shame that they couldn't film that badass-sounding ending.
And so Connery steps away from the role of Bond forever, again. And I'm sure we will never, ever, 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 ever see him play James Bond again.
Connery was paid an astronomical sum for the time to return to Bond, and it became clear that for the series to continue, the producers really needed to establish another actor in the role, which is why when James Bond does return, he will be played by Roger Moore in Live and Let Die.
I didn't think I'd be picking fights with salt mine owners as part of the original review series of on this channel, but there we go. Is it wrong of me to say that that was one of the more slightly subdued ones when it comes to these original reviews? I'm recording this reaction back to back with the previous reaction video, which was For Your Eyes Only, which was an original video review that I felt like, oh, okay, I feel like this is a bit more kind of opinionated, more jokes, that kind of thing, whereas in this Diamonds Are Forever one, it feels more just kind of like one of those that's just kind of like a rundown of the plot, really. And definitely more positive at the end there than I was anticipating. The Charles Gray hate shocked me originally, and then at the end, kind of, okay, I acknowledge that he was maybe not a very good Blofeld, but I really love the man in that film regardless, which is precisely where I stand on him in that film today. Overall, one of the more tame reviews, I think, other than the sort of firing shots salt mine owners. So there we go. That is, as I say, the very last video review that I ever made in that basement of my student house with that crappy little camera. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna miss these, actually. Like, when I started doing these, because I've been doing these reaction reviews for a few years now, and originally it started just as like maybe like a one-off thing to celebrate the anniversary of the channel, and then kind of was like, well, you know, I did get people asking if I would ever re-upload these old reviews because I took them down a long time ago, and I never felt comfortable with just re-uploading them because I would hate people to see those and think like, oh god, this is indicative of sort of where the channel is at now. And as cringy as it has been at times, as it is whenever you watch back video of your younger self, I think we can all kind of relate to that. A part of me has been somewhat nostalgic about it. I'm surprised that I feel kind of like, oh, I'm actually kind of sad that this is done now. As I say, there's older reviews of Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall that I will be looking at in the future, but this is the end of those original ones made in my student house, which is where I really sort of consider, you know, the original video reviews of this channel to exist. So, yeah, I'm slightly melancholy about this. Once again, do let me know if you watched this original review back when it was first on the channel, what your thoughts of it were then, what your thoughts are now, as well as, of course, your thoughts on Diamonds Are Forever. As I say, for me, it's a bit of like, if I'm in the right mood for it, I can really vibe with it, but if I'm not, it can be a painful 2 hours. Please do scroll below and click the subscribe button and the Mrs. Bell notification button to stay up to date on future video uploads, and with all that being said, and until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.